Hello and welcome to the first of our talks without the tea. And this is all about planting autumn bulbs or buried treasure because they're so fantastic. They will flower again in the spring, year after year. What is a bulb? It's an amazingly clever thing. It's the plant equivalent of an instant meal because in this bulb there are the roots, the stems and the flowers. Now, there's a little bit of a joke that size doesn't matter. That's what us girls are always told.
Yeah, it doesn't.
With bulbs, it does. The bigger the bulb, the more flowers you are going to get. Pointy end up, which I think most of you know, and also how deep is that bulb going to be? Well, if you've got a 2-inch bulb, I'm sorry, can't do metric, you would have it 6 inches deep. So 3 times the size of the bulb. So the smaller the bulb, you're going to put it closer to the surface. Where can we plant bulbs? Well, do you know, just about anywhere. They make a really, really good addition to a border. Obviously, if you've got herbaceous plants and everything, you want them to be reasonably big. Very, very fashionable at the moment are alliums, which are lovely with that almost sort of fireworky head. Tulips are great. They don't all come back year after year, but ballerina is very, very reliable. And then, of course, our absolute favourite, narcissus or daffodils. And they will all work really well in the border. The other charming thing about bulbs is they will grow in conditions where sometimes other plants aren't so happy later on in the season. So in springtime, where there are no leaves on the trees, you can get an awful lot of bulbs in a woodland situation. Cyclamen, snowdrops, which are fantastic. And I would just like to point out all the snowdrops are field grown, they're not dug up from the wild. Erythronium, or the dog-tooth violet, getting its name from the shape of the bulb. Little alliums and also scillas. Scale is very, very important. So if you were doing a alpine garden, and I'm just going to move over here. Now I've just brought you over here because another place where bulbs really do look gorgeous are in alpine troughs or in rock gardens. But a word of warning, make sure you get the scale right. You don't want them overpowering your little plants. But there are lots and lots of little miniature bulbs. So tulip polychroma is a dwarf tulip, as is tarda. And also these come back year after year. Crocuses. There are 2 sorts of crocuses. There are the bigger crocuses and then there are snow crocuses, and these are much the smaller ones, which again will make a nice addition to this. Or you could use anemones and you could use little narcissi. Now we actually have our narcissi arranged quite cleverly from left to right, going across smaller ones at the left. This is one of the tiniest, which is only 6 inches, called sabrosa. And finally, this is one of the ones that actually I love using in pots as well. This is Heart's Delight, and this tulip, not only does it have this very pretty flower, but it's also got gorgeous striped leaves, so it looks pretty even as it's growing. Right, that's lovely. And just a little bit about aftercare. Please, when they've finished flowering, don't knot the leaves, don't tie them up in rubber bands, because all those leaves need to put goodness back into the bulb so it will flower next year. Now there are also lots of lovely ways of planting them in containers, and we have got several examples here. I've got the lovely Dougal with me because he's going to be doing the doing and I'm going to be doing the talking. Thank you. If you're going to put it in a container, make sure it is a frost-proof container. So it could be wood, could be stone. This is a pot which is a nailless pot, and we know it's frost-proof. It's actually had a vitrification process. We're going to put drainage in. We've got drainage in the bottom, which we're going to crop.
Just to stop the compost going through the drainage hole. You
can use a multi-purpose compost with John Innes added. It doesn't have to be bulb fibre because this has actually got a drainage hole. The only time you need bulb fibre is when you're doing indoor bulbs. And the first one we're going to do is going to be 3 months of colour. And we're going to use narcissus for this, and there are some gorgeous ones. We've made sure that they are all reasonably the same size, and you're spacing them out in the pot, not so they're touching, but you can put them pretty close, and it's like a lasagna, layers of bulbs. What's the bottom one?
So that's the biggest one, the biggest bulb, and I filled compost up to this level, arranged the bulbs, and then topping up with a bit more compost and putting in the next one,
which is which one is that one?
It's jet fire, and it's actually going to be
Jet
the
fire.
first to flower. But they all grow at the rate that they're happy with, and they'll all catch up. A bit more compost on top of those, and then finally
Topolino, which is a bicolour. The jet fire had that lovely orangey centre and the yellow on the outside. Thalia completely white, and then Topolino, very, very pretty. A goldeny trumpet, and then pale lemon petals, and then more compost on top.
And I spread them out evenly across there, a bit like decorating the top of a cake, and then finally top up with the rest of the compost, leaving an inch or so at the top to take water. And we might actually put some little violas or pansies there just to entertain us during the winter.
Sure we will. So that's going to be 3 months of colour, which is lovely. And then this one is going to be a combination of different bulbs, so we get a real wow. And we're going to use hyacinths. Now these are outdoor hyacinths. This is a mix called Ocean Breeze, which is blue, very, very fragrant. They're so powerful hyacinths that as you walk past the pot, it'll be absolutely gorgeous. Another fragrant one is the Narcissus Pheasant's Eye, and then we're going to put some little scillas around the top as well. So very much a blue and white theme. Now if you don't feel like inventing your own, I'm going to let you just keep doing that. Are you going to put the hyacinths in? Oh, it's fine. There you go. Oh, it's interesting because look, the white ones are white and the blue ones are pinky, so you can actually tell which colour they are. So you could spread, don't have all your white ones together.
Okay, Mum, whatever you say. So I've spread the white ones apart, surrounding them by the blue ones.
And then we're going to put Pheasant's Eye. And I just want to show everybody this, which is another way. We have these lovely mixes, which is a combination. And this one has actually got a double narcissus, a pink tulip, and then grape hyacinths in it. So the mix is made for you if you don't feel that you actually can invent one of your own. I'm going to sprinkle those on top. If you're actually doing these in the garden, don't do them in rows either. Just throw them, and where they land, plant them, so it looks much more natural.
And don't worry about the bottom ones finding their way to the top. They'll push in between these ones and get to the top in their own sweet way.
And what I should say is this year our bulb sales have been absolutely astronomical. Everyone is so keen to think about spring. So if you're thinking about planting any bulbs, I would get here really, really quickly. So what are those little things you're putting in, scillas around the edge?
Yep.
That one, Scilla alba.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
It's going to be a white sparkle.
That's going to be gorgeous. And then, knowing us, we're going to be putting some violas or some pansies on top as well, which will give us some autumn colour and interest. And then we'll have all this fantastic show in the spring, which will really cheer up your patio.
I'm going to give them a good water and then sit them outside. So let's sit them somewhere where we'll see them when we come in and out of the house.
The other thing I would do is label it all to make sure I know exactly what's in there. You can also plant bulbs for indoor use. Hyacinths in particular give a lovely, lovely fragrance, but they need to be prepared. That means they've had a heat treatment, so kidded into thinking they've had winter and they're going to grow in the spring. I always call them Boy Scout hyacinths. And there are several ways of growing them. You could just actually do it in a hyacinth glass.
Yep. So a special hyacinth glass that's got a shoulder that will support the bulb. Put water in it. Drop the bulb in, make sure the water is just below the bulb, we don't want it touching, and then pop it in a dark, cool place and check it each week, and you'll see the roots growing down. And when the roots are well down and you've got an inch of green growth at the top, you can bring it into the daylight. Keep it fairly cool and just enjoy watching the flower and develop, and enjoy the fragrance when it comes out. If you want to have a bowl of hyacinths, you've got two options. One is to start before the 25th of September if you want them at Christmas. Pop them in a bowl with bulb fibre because it doesn't have any drainage, and the bulb fibre will keep the soil, stop it going soggy and smelly. Bury them so that just the nose is showing up. Put them, Lesley always uses a cardboard box in the garage so it's dark and cold. Give them a good water first. Occasionally check them for mice nibbling away, and to maybe look at them every 2 weeks. And when you've got little inch-high green shoots, bring them out into the cool and light. That'll be after about 8 weeks. And then you can have them in the cool, light place for 2 or 3 weeks. And then as the bulbs show the flowers, you can bring them into the warmth. They'll last longer the cooler you can keep them, otherwise you rush them off. If you haven't managed to do this by the 25th September, we always have little pots of bulbs near Christmas time that you can buy, and you can just plant the whole pot in here. And in the picture that we've got in the newsletter that you'll see just now, you see we actually have a candle holder with a planting basket in it, and we just pop these, a bit of moss and candles. Even easier are the paper whites, and these don't need to be in the dark. Keep them in a cool windowsill, pop them in the pot just the same way, watch them grow very quickly. Within 8 weeks you'll have these tall, very fragrant white narcissi to fill your room and house with perfume.
That'd be lovely.
Yeah.